You're live, my dear.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. This is Jennifer Gigi Ferguson, Gigi for Senate in Washington State. And tonight, I'm lucky. I get Jean Piero, the owner of the station, who is going to be my co-host tonight for the show.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Jean,
I'm honored. Thank you.
and thank you for being here. Let me see if we can get what you've just sent over here
Trying to
so that we can get people onto Facebook with us.
try to do that right now.
And so tonight, Jean and I talk about a lot of different things at times. And so tonight is one of those nights where we're going to be talking about a lot of different issues. We're going to talk about this new money that's going to military again. How about that?
That's crazy.
Um, that link didn't work.
I sent it to you, so I'm gonna try to get the YouTube link, and I'll send that to you. No, I agree with you that the money could be spent on so many other things other than the military right now. It's just not fair to. It's not fair to any of us, really. The way I see it.
So, and I'm looking at this article from Common Dreams. And in this article from Common Dreams, it was dated Tuesday, June 19th. And it says millions lack food, housing, and health care. But 38 Democrats, just joined the GOP to spend, are you ready for this?
I'm listening.
$716 billion on endless war and empire.
That's crazy.
$716 billion. That's after all the money they've already done. So what the author has said is, in a vote that further entrenches endless war and bloated Pentagon spending and places greater nuclear capacity in the hands of Donald Trump, 38 Democrats and Senator Angus King, an independent from Maine — I won't be that type of independent, I promise — joined nearly every Senate Republican on Monday to pass a $716 billion defense bill that boosts the military spending by over $80 billion, billion with a B, and authorizes another $21.6 billion for nuclear weapons programs. Now, am I missing something, or isn't it in North Korea where they're trying to get them to get rid of their nuclear arms so that we can work together? Yet we're about to spend $21.6 billion on more nuclear weapons. If I was in North Korea, I wouldn't try to make a deal with America. If I was any place, I wouldn't try to make a deal with America. What about you?
Oh, me, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I don't trust the president at all because he's a deal breaker. He's done nasty deals with a lot of people, and I think his presence is based on what he's done in the past. Actions speak louder than words, as they always say.
And okay, and with that being said, what you've done in the past is a predictive of what you will do in the future. Am I correct?
Correct.
So his past, his racism, his lack of empathy, his not paying immigrant workers to do jobs on his buildings. I don't understand how this man is in office.
I
I
think
can at least say here in Washington State, he did not get it. It was not here.
he didn't get it here either in New Jersey. But I gotta be honest with you. I don't like our new governor either. So I whatever.
We don't know. Now, here's the part that really, really gets me. Here in Washington State, we have, as I'm going around the state, I thought when I first started going, and I asked people, what is the number one issue for you um, on a national and local, because what's local is national and what's national is local. What is the number one issue? I was expecting people to say healthcare. That's not what I received. The number one issue across the state of Washington is homelessness.
Hmm.
So, and poverty. Homelessness and poverty. So, here's what they said. Had the Pentagon's budget simply remained the same as it was in 2017, last year, Congress could have funded public college for every student in the U.S. and had 12 billion with a B left over. And this was by noted media analyst Adam Johnson. But Democrats and Republicans decided to join hands again once more in a late night vote in an overwhelming 85-10 to affirm the militarism and massive handouts to defense contractors, top education, healthcare, and anti-hunger programs on the list of congressional priorities. So in other words, they'd rather spend more money on all of the military and weapons that we're only going to have a fight because America starts. People, please understand that. All of the reading that I have been doing, the top 1 to 2%, which is the United States and some other countries, have created wars. Now, the one that really got me, and I don't know, Gene, if you've ever heard this, but they actually, something I read said an ad was put in the paper looking for someone because they knew it would take a certain type of person to fill this ad, but the person they needed in office to do what they needed them to do. And Nixon is the one that answered that ad. And then in the same article, they talked about how they actually put Hitler in office. This is the 1 or 2%. They actually put Hitler in office because after World War I, there were a lot of companies, manufacturing companies, that had equipment that the U.S. could utilize to make more war equipment. So they needed to put someone in office who would create a war so that they could make money.
I never heard of that, but what you're saying goes hand in hand with the objective of controlling people's minds, because they know. See, I see you shaking your head. They know that what we're going to think about, what we're going to talk about, and the propaganda that's used to control the mind. I love you so much. I love the way you're smiling and you're God's godsend. I swear. But no, I agree. It's set up that way to make us look like we're the most powerful thing on the planet, but we're not. It's just that who wants to play the demon this time, and who wants to play the good guy. And it's just a play that keeps going on and on and on, and we're all part of
Back
it.
and forth.
Right?
And so
Exactly.
I keep saying the Republicans and the Democrats sleep in the same
Yep.
bed, they just switch partners.
That's pretty
Now,
much it.
people may not like that, but it's really a fact because one, we are no longer a democracy. We are not a democracy. Well, we are a democracy. Let me change that. We are a democracy. The Constitution says we were supposed to be a republic. The republic is in the hands of the people. A democracy is in the hands of the government, not and corporations. So, who created democracy? Well, I don't know if people remember, and I know I've posted it on Facebook a lot with the lawsuit between some of the Bernie Sanders people and the DNC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me, part one of the papers actually put on there, and I didn't have enough time to look for it because um, we were supposed to do a different show. Otherwise, I would have, because I would love to have read it. But the DNC, this was submitted to the court system, and these are words submitted on behalf of the DNC. And a lot of people here, because I now call them DNC,
Right.
they're not the DNC, they're Democrats. Well, I'm sorry, but their words for court under oath, submitted in writing, said one, there's no such thing as a Democrat. They are the DNC and they ask people to vote Democrat. So that goes right to what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
and they create the lie for us to believe in and for us to go along with, which also goes along with what Trump just said last month. When they asked him, why does he keep lying? He says, because if you tell a lie enough, people will begin to believe it.
Very true. Yeah, a lot of their, when they're talking, not to cut you off, but a lot of what they say within their speech, a lot of the truth comes out as they speak, and we can hear it, but other people are not listening.
See, what does it say? We have to have ears to hear,
Mm-hmm.
but we really have to listen to hear. And I tell people a lot of times, I'm a therapist. I hear what people say and I hear what people don't say. And I watch body language. And as a therapist, I've been told I'm really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I've laid it down to run for office because instead of just helping one person an hour, I can do work that's helping millions of lives across America. I can be that voice to fight for what we need, to fight for what is right, to fight for America, for us to get our republic back, which is putting the power back into the hands of the people and not in the hands of corporations. And the DNC also stated they are a private corporation. And because they are a private corporation, no one has the right, no one has the right to ask to see anything about their finances or how they run their business. And then they also stated because they are a private corporation, they are also not even obligated to follow their own bylaws. Okay, I don't know about anyone else, But that was the day. I mean, I was toying back and forth about Democrat and independent and what I wanted to do. But when I read that, and there were other, I think there was like 10 things in there. I thought, wait a minute, we're voting against ourselves. And there's no way we're going to get rid of Citizens United, where they say corporations are people, because the GOP and the DNC are corporations. Therefore, they gave themselves the right to have additional voices. And that's the reason they can have the super delegates. And that's the reason they can do what they want to do. And that's also the reason they also keep telling people we have to go from ground up. And people get angry with me and say, why are you going all the way to the Senate? Because we need people in the top, people. If you look on the floor, if there's a roach or there's anything little, if you are at the top, you're taller than it, you're bigger than it, guess what? You can destroy it. And that is part of the way they stay in power, because people starting at the bottom up, first of all, their minds are set to think, their minds are programmed to think the way the DNC wants them to think.
Right.
Period. And so as they move up, they become even more ingrained into that corporate thinking. So we have we have to get out of that circle, because all they keep doing is going Democrat, Republican,
Yep.
Democrat, Republican,
Yep.
Democrat, Republican. That's what we keep doing every 8 years. And the House changes in between because they're going back and forth. But this is what people need to realize: corporations have lobbyists. Those lobbyists are going to the Democrats and they're going to the Republicans.
Yep.
They're paying both groups. Why are they paying them? They are paying them to not allow any bills to get through that do not benefit them. Period.
Yep.
And people, that's the reason. And everyone believes we have to. I mean, I can't tell you how I get frustrated looking at Facebook, because when I'm looking at Facebook, people are saying these people who are going outside the party, they're trying to destroy the party. Yes, I'm trying to not necessarily destroy it, but I'm definitely trying to break it to where we don't have two corporations ruling America that are millionaires who can't connect with people who are in poverty. They can't connect with people who are hungry, are homeless. Let's look at this. The banks, mortgage companies are the reason people lost their homes in 2007. They're part of the crisis. And our government has allowed them to make money off of that. So those banks and mortgage companies were able to file to get the people out of their homes. Okay, so they repossessed the houses. I found out in taking a class because I wanted to know how they did it and what I could do as a U.S. Senator to make sure it didn't happen again. So I've been taking classes to learn. And one of the things I learned was these insurance companies and mortgage companies and banks were able to file a loss when they foreclosed on those homes. They were able to file a loss. Now, then they went and they did short sales. So they sold the homes for less than what the homes were owed on them. Then they went back and sued the owners in a lot of cases for the money they the difference between the short sale and what was owed on the house.
Not only that,
They made out like fat cats.
Not only that, the IRS paid them, and they also got TDI insurance that you get when you have a mortgage to cover your insurance in case you can't pay it. So they've got it many, many times. Plus, they broke up the mortgage note, and the loan is two separate things. The deed and the loan are supposed to stay together, but they're broken up as a derivative. And they use that on the stock market to make even more money. And they sold them as high-risk loans to make more money. So there's so many different avenues that play in this. If I ever get Renee Powers, I had her on Scott's show last week, and she's amazing. She's gone through a lot. She lost her home, and she's bouncing back, and she's got a lot of great things going on in her life now. But you know, she had a SWAT team come in after. She's a 57-year-old grandmother, you know, and they took her home and everything. But before I go into all that, I'm just saying that she's a person that's wealthy of knowledge about all this stuff that you're talking about, and she would be a great addition to come on your show one night and talk about what has gone on with her. And you would really be, I think your mouth is going to stand open when you hear how all these people have been affected. Not only me too, as a notary and also a regular homeowner. You know, it's crazy when you think about how the banks got TARP money years and years ago. And the money was supposed to help create loan modifications for everybody that couldn't pay their loan. Well, the bank forces you into a loan modification based on the fact that you can't pay. Well, my problem was I could pay. And I told them that. I don't have a problem paying. She said, well, they're not going to take you seriously unless you stop paying. I said, well, then what should you do? She said, well, you have to fall behind a couple months. So a couple months led to 6 months, and then they start coming after us. So the reason why I say that, I'm an honest, sincere person. And I don't sit here and I lie. I don't sit here and tell mistruths. This is exactly what happened. So the loan modifications never went through that we're supposed to go through for the banks. Wow. So people can get that break they needed to get over their little hump of either a high medical bill or a high, you know, whatever bill it is, just so they can live and stay in their home. The banks undercut them, took their homes away from them, and sold them on the open market through the sheriff's sale, through the county and the district they live in. Because here's the thing that people don't understand. Every time a house is sold, the sheriff makes money on it, because the sheriff works with the lawyer works with the sheriff, the lawyer also works with the local county recorder's office. So there's money flying everywhere. They don't care about foreclosures. Right. And here's the thing. When you go to a U.S. senator or a local senator or a councilman and you say, listen, I got a foreclosure issue. I need to talk to you about this because I think this could really, they don't want no part of it. They said it's between the bank and you. We have nothing to do. You know why? Because they're afraid it'll incriminate themselves.
But, you know, we run into that on a lot of things. And so I'm just going to throw this one little part in. I've had people really getting angry with me that are in injured workers. And I had one lady tell me, she says, can you help me? She says, here's the problem. We get injured and the L&I doesn't want to pay us.
Right.
We're having, and I learned a lot of this when I was trying to get endorsements. Excuse me. Okay. So, L&I and everything strings them along. They're not getting very much money, and they get to the point where they're about to lose their homes, they're about to lose everything. So then they're made an offer. This isn't in every single state, but this does happen in Washington state. And they get this small offer, which by the time they pay that, pay off their medical bills, they can either do their medical bills or they can do um, the legal bills and maybe get caught up on their home. Maybe. Many of them are homeless and they're angry, and they've tried to contact their state reps who tell them there's nothing we can do about it. They've tried to contact their U.S. senators who say that's not our job. And they're saying, but we're collecting Social Security and you are federal government. And that's really a fraud on Social Security because it's really the corporation we work for that should be paying us, not Social Security. And they don't get responses from either one of their senators. So it's like the U.S. senators, nor the state reps or the U.S. reps will get involved and call the state out. And so we have a lot of people, and I've gone to their Facebook page, and there are a lot of injured workers. Some are homeless, and it's not their fault. They were injured on a job that failed. And again, that goes back into our system and all this money that's going every place that it doesn't need to go and not going where it needs to go, which is to the people. We don't need $21.6 billion for nuclear weapons program. We don't. But we do need people to be able to have food, clothing, shelter.
Yeah, the necessities. Yeah.
Health care, education. That money, as I'm out campaigning, one of the first things people want to know is how are we going to pay for universal health care? How are we going to pay for free colleges? How are we going to pay for all of these things? And even the K through 12 education, these things that you're proposing, how are we going to pay for it? I said, how are we paying for all of this military? Do you have an issue with all the money that's been spent on military, on weaponry? And they usually don't have an answer for me and they walk away. This is why I have to run as an independent. And sorry, I took us off track, but I'm about to bring us back on track with the houses. The only person that was going after the banks and the mortgage companies was Senator Warren. She was the only one going after them, and she was going after the legislators that were taking money from them. And the Republicans told the Democrats, shut her down. I remember that. And at first she wouldn't shut down, but they said, shut her down. And now you really don't hear Senator Warren talking about that. So I'm thinking, now I may be wrong, but I don't think so, that if I'm a Democrat and I'm going against Trump or bills things that are happening that shouldn't be happening, and it may be going against the Republicans, then the Republicans can tell the Democrats to tell me to be quiet. Or if I'm a Republican and I'm going against Trump, then the Republicans will tell me to keep quiet. or shut me down or move me out of a committee that I may be in. But to be perfectly honest, I've looked at the committees and I don't care what committee they put me in. I have a fight.
I know you do.
I have a fight. I don't care what committee they put me in. There's something that I will be able to do for the people. And I love having the shows, the two radio shows, because one of the things I will be able to do is, even if I don't get regular media coverage, I will still have media coverage and my voice will still get out and I will still be able to rally the people together. And because this show goes nationally, I will be able to rally the people together nationally. I'm not going to the U.S. Senate to sit down, try to be cute, try to get along. I'm going to try to get work done. Now, I am a marriage and family therapist, so when I first get there, the people put me in office to go and be their voice. I am going to be somewhat quiet. We're going with some bills already in place. So hopefully we get senators in and House members in who are progressive so that we can begin to work these bills. But also, we can form our own caucuses. And I know they already have a progressive caucus, but if the progressive caucus is not working for the progressives, or maybe we get in and we give them more of a voice and make the progressive caucus louder, I don't know. But I refuse to allow my voice to be shut down. It won't happen. Unless you shut down your station, and I don't see that happening either.
No, we're growing. We got more shows coming. But now, listen, I want to equate what you just said to a lot of the things that I associate with, and that is probably one thing is a movie called Brewster's Millions. And the reason why I say that is I got a lot of friends in the stock market. I got a lot of friends in the FBI, the CIA, everywhere, from my affiliation with the New Jersey State Police for 25 years. And Brewster's Millions was that one movie that Richard Pryor did where they took a couple cents from everybody and in the building. There was 1 million people, and he got over $1 million just by thinking about this. So I thought about this, and I think, you know what? I think that we're all a victim of identity theft. I think that what they're doing is a little bit of that. I think they're playing with numbers, stealing from our Social Securities. And I called up a couple times. I said, I had the same Social Security amount for over 5 years. And all of a sudden it went down. She says, oh, because they're taking more insurance around. I said, well, I have insurance. So why are they taking another 30 cents out? She said, oh, they took it from everybody. So I think the game is they're learning how to steal from people without people knowing about it. And they're good crooks. I got to tell you, they're beyond so crooked. And you have to think. See, my detective thinking when I was with the state police always goes into what I was looking for on a car or whatever. But I always think that there's somebody out there that knows more than us, knows how to manipulate us, and knows how to get to the point where we're not going to really care about a couple cents. When I had a health insurance thing maybe a couple of years ago, I called them up and I told them, I said, look, somebody charged $50,000 to my card, and I said, that wasn't me. They made a mistake. That's not me. I didn't have anything done. They said, well, don't worry about it. We've gone through that a lot. So a lot of the costs are going into a lot of mistakes, or a lot of mistakes done for reasons to bring money to other things. And this is just my opinion now. I'm not just saying this. I'm saying this based on the fact that all this stuff keeps happening. And I could be onto something here, and maybe I'm not. But I'm just saying that it just seems odd to me that all of a sudden we start seeing a little bit less in everything that we do. And at the same time, all these things get funded, all these congressmen, senators, and councilmen, and a lot of them do become millionaires. A lot of them do become rich and elite and friends with a lot of the elite and friends with the big companies like Bayer or Monsanto or whatever. But they do influence each other based on the fact that what can you
Yes.
do for me and I will
Yes.
do for you. And
Yes.
I don't know where the money comes in. I don't know if they're stealing it from the taxpayers. I know the IRS has just did that to me in the last couple months. Said I stopped paying them because what happened was somebody filed an IRS tax form 1040 in my name, and I said, well, what's weird is I always file mine in October because I need 6 months to pay because I didn't have the money to pay for the mortgage interest that I don't get to deduct, so I have to pay more. So I pay that around September, October. And I said, well, why would somebody file before me? So they said, oh, it was identity theft. So when I called them up, they said, you're paid up. And I said, really? I said, because I know I owe another few thousand. They said, no, you're paid up. So what happened was they sent me a check. I cashed the check. I put the check in the bank. I told my wife, look, we got a check. I guess we're all caught up. So 6 months later, they played a game. Oh, my God, we made a mistake. We weren't supposed to send you a check. Now they're charging me for interest, late fees, and all this other stuff. And I said, you got to be kidding me. You sent me the check. I called you. And what happened was I had to find $3,800 to pay them back right away, or they're going to fine me more. So I think that when you look at all these little things, especially in my life, I know that these are all little things that happen way too often. And they happen not because I'm stupid, because I'm not. I'm right on it. But the point is, how many times does it happen to people outside of me that don't even realize it's going on? That's the part
Now,
I'm saying.
see, now, when you started talking, I remembered an article that I read on wage theft. And the wage theft basically started out saying how people who know that their wages are being stolen, but then it came back and started talking about most of us, if we're getting paid from large corporations, they're taking a little bit of the wages. It may be 50 cents, it may be $1, it may be something, but it's still wage theft, especially if this is a company that has millions of employees. 50 cents over millions of employees is a lot of money to come in. So I looked up, and what they have doesn't go to what he was talking about, but it says wage theft is the denial of wages or employee benefits rightfully owed an employee. It can be conducted by employers in various ways, among them failing to pay overtime, violating minimum wage laws, the misclassification of employees as independent contractors, and a lot of companies do that. But where that gets sticky, if you bring them on as independent contractors, then you've brought them on as independent contractors. But there's also a difference in being an independent contractor and being an employee. But if you bring them on as an employee and then you switch them over to an independent contractor, then you have violated laws. So it says the misclassification of employees as independent contractors. Okay, what just came into my mind is, how do you know whether you're an independent contractor or not, or an employee? If you're an employee, you have to clock in at a certain time and clock out at a certain time. You have all the rules that guide you if you are an employee. If you are an independent contractor, you set your own hours. You come and go and you work as you see fit, because you're an independent contractor. You set your hours, you set your days, you set your times. So it says illegal deductions in pay, forcing employees to work off the clock, and it says working, clocking off is a British, no, or simply not paying an employee at all. Hmm. Isn't that what Donald Trump did with um, immigrant workers? Oh, I'm sorry. According to some studies, wage theft is common in the United States, particularly from low wage, legal, or undocumented immigrant workers. The Economic Policy Institute reported in 2014 that survey evidence suggests wage theft costs U.S. workers billions of dollars a year. Some rights violated by wage theft have been guaranteed to workers in the United States in the 1938 Fair Labor Standards Act. So, if anyone listening has gone through what this is saying that constitutes wage theft, then look up the 1938 Fair Labor Standards Act. It's the FLSA Act. Because they are stealing the money. And I think part of the reason they're trying to privatize the post office is they keep telling everyone the post office is in the red, it's going broke, it's this, it's that, it's the other. When in fact, the post office is in the black, it's always in the black. However, the Senate, I believe it is, takes more money and has taken more money for Social Security taxes than any corporation in the U.S. As a matter of fact, my husband made the comment a few years ago, because my husband's a letter carrier, so he knows what's going on. They have taken Social Security for babies who have not even been conceived yet. How do you take Social Security from babies who have not been conceived, and therefore they're definitely not working for the post office? But they take so much money that it puts the post office in red. Now, if they privatize the post office, when those employees start retiring, then they may not have to pay that back. Oh, then people are going to see a whole nother side of me, because that's my husband's retirement.
Had a girl. Had a girl.
Huh?
That a girl. I said that's the way you fight. You know, if it happens to you personally, it's a personal fight, and you've got to keep on fighting.
Well, see, and for me, it's not even that I fight just for me. My fight, I've been fighting for other people for so long. I mean, I fought a judge here in Pierce County. I sent a judge a letter and told the judge he needed to recluse himself from a case because it was obvious he was being biased in the case. Yeah, he came after me, and yeah, he won, but you know, it doesn't mean I'm not going to stop fighting. And I would do it again if I had to. I just know what I did wrong, and I would just make sure I don't do that same thing again. That's all.
I love your attitude because what you said earlier really hit me home. Even though whatever outcome happens in the election, you still have a voice in the media. I love that because that's so true. That's what I tell all the radio show hosts. If you really want to make a difference, if you really want your voice to be heard, you need to be at a place where you can be heard.
Mhm. Yes. And I want to be heard, but it's not that I want to be heard for me. I want to be heard for the people, period. And that's the way I've always been. And a lot of people ask now, what have you done? And they wonder why I put information out about me, and it sounds like I'm selling, um, I think, more highly of myself than I ought.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, that's not the case. I'm questioned on a continuous basis, um, on my ability to run for this office. And do I qualify to run for this office? And so I'm constantly having to tell people, and I still don't tell people. I give people my education, and I give people um, some of the volunteer work that I've done, but I don't give them the information on the battles I fought and won, for families and for people and organizations. And I have not always won, but I've won way more than I've lost. And it's not something that I wanted to put out. It's not something I was trying to tell people about. It was just there was a need, there was a problem, and I got involved. And it's just that simple. And 30 plus 40 years of doing this, I know what I'm going into the Senate. I mean, one, I've been going to DC every year since 2011, and I lobby with the House, um, my House of Representatives, and sometimes I go to other representatives that are not in my district because I'm being sent by my organization, um, to go there, uh, as a voice, which is my sorority, which is Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And a lot of times when I say that, people immediately think, um, sorority. Eh. Well, it's a sorority, it's an organization that was founded in 1913 at Howard University by 22 young Black women. And the first event they participated in as an organization, because we are a we're not a social, we're a political advocacy, social action organization, was the Women's Suffrage March in 1913. And we were the only Black organization that marched in the Women's Suffrage March in 1913. And in 2013, at the 100-year anniversary, we were the only organization still in existence that marched in the 1913 Women's Suffrage March. So we, the organization, did a reenactment of the 1913 Women's Suffrage March. And I had the honor of carrying the flag, the banner for Washington State, in that march. And it felt so empowering, understanding that I'm in an organization that fights for social justice. And we've been doing this for over 100 years. I've been a member since 1977 or 78. And my great aunt was a member of this great, illustrious organization. So we fight. We are heavily into social action. And I've been our social action chair. We've done a lot of work. So I have, and I also have met with our senators over there, and I've lobbied every year here in Washington State, since 2011. And I lobby with our organization. I've joined up with Faith Action Network. And a lot of people look at Faith Action Network and think it's about religion, when actually Faith Action Network is covering all of the issues that we're talking about. Their rent and minimum wage and equity and all. I mean, they're fighting for justice and rights for minorities. And I have not looked up theirs this year. I think this was the first year that I have not lobbied with Faith Action Network or um, the Washington Housing Alliance in Olympia. So I tell people all the time, do your city government know who you are? Does your state government know who you are? And do the people that you elect for federal know who you are? Because if they don't know who you are, they don't know your name, you have no voice. You have zero voice. My legislators know who I am. My city government knows who I am. And when I had children in school, their teachers knew who I was. I wasn't on the school board, but I was on PTA. So they knew. And these are not things that I typically put out. I just did it because I wanted my voice. But people need to understand I am doing this and I am qualified to do it. And I'm going to say this while I'm on. Right now, we're really pushing. Um, and so our campaign as an independent really needs financial help. So if people would go to the website, which is Gigi for Senate, GIGIFORSENATE.us, and make a donation, it would be so helpful. And Doc, you and I were talking earlier, and you said sometimes you have movie stars and actresses and things that
Absolutely.
follow, the broadcast and the show. So here's my ask to those of you. $2,700 per person is the maximum that can be donated. So if you're married and you fit into those categories of professional athletes and movie stars, and you are looking for a candidate to come out that's going to fight for the people, I'm asking you, if you're single, $2,700 donation, and if you're married, $5,400 donation. It would really go a long way towards helping our campaign keep moving. And so back on, because we're almost through, Doc, and I would like to ask people, there's this book. It looks backwards on here. You can't see it.
I know.
But if you are a reader, read this book called Runaway Inequality. And it's an activist guide to economic justice. And it's by Les Leopold. Now, I should have known when I was at a convention with my sorority in March, that this book was powerful because they put it in, I think, all of our bags. I believe this was donated to each of us, and it was in our bags. And I wish I had started reading it sooner, because that book is powerful in knowing what is going on. And again, it's called Runaway Inequality, an activist guide to economic justice, and it's by Les Leopold. And I think you will really enjoy it. I think it's a book that not only will you enjoy it, it will educate you. It will educate you to what is really, really going on in our government, in our country. And I want you to really remember, we are supposed to be a republic. which is people govern. We are not a republic. We are a democracy, and that is not a good thing because in a democracy, it is the government, it is corporations, it is businesses that govern us. And this is my reason for running as an independent because I want to push to get us back to a republic. I want to get pushed to get us back to where the people have a voice. And until we get there, I'm asking people to vote for me, support me, so that I can continue to be your voice. And Doc, I really appreciate you.
I do. I appreciate you as well. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. I really loved it. I can get you.
Thank
I can
you.
get you guests too. You know, if you need guests, I mean, we had Daphne Reed on from Fresh Prince of Bel Air. She was beautiful and sweet and so nice to talk to. And we get stars like that all the time on different shows, and we never know who we're going to get. But they see a certain something quality here at the radio station, a certain type of relaxation, type of homey feel, and they're comfortable here, and they're always welcome here. And I always tell them that. So we welcome all celebrities of any type.
And so people understand, and I tell people, Doc, about this. It tickles me still because I was introduced via telephone to someone who has a show with you, who lives here in Puyallup, is an attorney here in Puyallup. And I think I spoke with him one time to get this information, or maybe twice. And you interviewed me, he interviewed me, and another woman. We did a show, and I was on the phone. And in the interview, you told me I was smart, and you asked, you said something, and it came out that I had the radio talk show that I do on Sunday mornings. And you asked, is that radio show syndicated? And I said no. And you said, then talk to me afterwards. I had no idea at the time that I was being interviewed by the owner of the company. But I do get tickled because I love how in the very beginning you gave the pre that her views may not be the views of the company. And I thought that was cute. Because you didn't know who I was and you didn't know what my thoughts were. But we had a great show, and I'm grateful for the show. And I'm grateful for you for offering me the opportunity to do this show and for being here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our show this evening. How would you name or title this show, Doc?
I would probably, yeah, no, hold on. I was getting ready when you were ready to go. I would say I would entitle it Doc G from Hamilton Radio talking to you, Gigi. Or Gigi talking
a title for the show. But we thank you for coming in tonight, and we will see you, or at least I will see you next week at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time at Gigi for U.S. Senate. Thank you and have a good week. Bye-bye.